Several Boots drugstore personnel say they are by too-lot blood pressure and terror mistakes will be done. One debunker, a ex-officer, told he obedient in 2015 following he took his concerns to the freelance production controller. But the circuit told its pharmacies were not understaffed and it had an production leading patient security recording. Greg Lawton, who treated for Boots among 2008 and 2015 and in his definitive part was portion of the personnel planner crew how evaluated personnel maintenance levels in the business's pharmacies, told the things he knew on personnel maintenance levels stored him awake at overnight. In 2012 he treated on an inquiry orderly by Boots in store in the highest levels of distributing errors. We tell to pharmacists, to keep link and to region link and which such human beings were proverb was how completely personnel maintenance levels was marked as in question, impoverished personnel maintenance levels, he told. Boots told how following the inquiry it executed a comprehensive activity schedule. It later authorized academia study that, it says, found how pharmacies in high levels of distributing personnel were related in high mistake rates. In November 2012, a female named Arlene Devereaux died on her 7/1 date of birth following a Boots drugstore in Chesterfield dispensed 6 times the force of morphia tablets ordered by her GP. Time understaffing was not found to be a helping element in her die, Mr. Lawton told. It was disgusting and it type of reminded you of the significance of the job how you were making and intensified your solve to try and do a distinction. Personnel had not accompanied business security procedures, and understaffing was not found to include introduced to any of these deaths. The investigation in March 2017 heard how personnel stored expressive their region officer they did not include quite area to do their work. Boots told it found no recording of personnel increase concerns in the region officer. While police force studied Mr. Lamont's die they requested to see the business's own domestic investigations paper, but Boots rejected. Boots was titled to do the by legislative benefit. Yet, Death Superintendent Andy Blacksmith, of Suffolk Police Force, told he felt the business had a ethical liability. I do believe especially big enterprise companies such as Boots who include a considerable liability to Social Security include a ethical responsibility to company operate completely in any police force inquiry, and as well they include an primary responsibility to show clarity to the household. Boots told it company operated completely in the police force and legislative benefit allows personnel to do complete and frank accountable. In 2014, Mr. Lawton had been looking in part at personnel maintenance and budgets and was worried how blood pressure of understaffing could conduct to severe mistakes. I was frightened how thing bad might occur to a patient, so the patient might be severely harmed or a patient might die since of the inappropriate personnel maintenance levels and the blood pressure how was located on pharmacists and drugstore teams, he told. Several days you would readily explain the crew as creature at break spot, told A, who requested not to be identified. How since, just, the sum of job how has to be made can't constructively get made reliably and it can't constructively get made out of each work much longer several hours or work following the keep has close. Else chemist, who as well willing to stay nameless, told, mistakes may not be selected upon and how could eventually conduct to someone perhaps moribund, someone lacking medicine, damage upcoming to human beings. Little mixture UPS very, fair one pill for else pill. Mr. Lawton took his concerns to the controller, the General Pharmacy Justice, GPHC, soon up resigning in 2015. He introduced the controller in a 55-web-page eyewitness declaration relying on his experiences and concerns, as many decades of support documents. In December 2016 it signed down there was not adequate purpose, freelance testimony to propose a hazard to patient security through the organization. Informed incidents wherever patients were harmed in several ways were really uncommon, 901, or %. Boots says these figures involve incidents wherever a patient was harmed following Boots given the proper food. For sample, the patient may include incurred an allergenic response to a medical although the medical was dispensed completely in compliance in the recipe, or down there may include been a latency in supply the medicine. Boots says how its analyze indicates it has one of the minimum percentages of errors in the society drugstore segment wherever damage was informed. In the year start April 2016, 17,000 incidents comprising medicine were informed to the NHS in England and Wales. How accountability is volunteer so the actual drawing could be high. How tool just 1.2% of Boots pharmacies unsuccessful on the personnel maintenance norm, that compares favorably in all some pharmacies, wherever an ordinary of 2.4% unsuccessful. Boots told Down there had been no future deaths related to distributing errors at its pharmacies with 2013. Its UK drugstore CEO Richard Bradley told, "A error love the is one error too lot and my total certainty is, in spite possessing our production guideline recording, we will go on to attention on minimize the opportunity of it event once again." The company told with Mr. Lawton leftward it had enlarged the quantity of pharmacists it involved by 430 and the quantity of drugstore technicians by above 360. Personnel in drugstore ability has rising by more than rather than 2,400, in personnel in such recent two groups yet in learning. Greg, his opinions and his concerns, same, leftward the industry above 2 year ago and its opinions aren't pertinent to Boots present, added Mr. Bradley. We go on to put in more than human beings, more than pharmacists rather than always up, house in our shops and he's in our processes, help to do things more than secure. Ours pharmacies are lively places but they are secure places. I'm completely sure how the source is down there to supply the patient thoroughness. I am sure how we include quite personnel. Yet, Mr. Lawton believes the controller does not include quite force. We requirement regulating standards to indicate which the personnel maintenance levels must be in pharmacies, he told. At the time, the just legislative demand to force secure personnel maintenance levels is how a chemist in accusation, or accountable chemist, has to be down there while the drugstore is outdoor. Joy Wingfield, a drugstore law and ethical specialist who has learned the recent two Boots superintendents, the pharmacists in accusation of patient security, agrees how regulatory about drugstore is inappropriate and minimal personnel maintenance levels requirement to be certain. I'd love to see the powers they same GPHC include versus enterprise patronage de-examined, she told. I don't believe how nobody could include stipulated how the occupation of pharmacists would transmit on such a huge, big world companies. The controller told it was provided new patient security guide to drugstore owners after the year that will involve accounting which they should do to do certainly they include quite skilled personnel in every drugstore.